Yes, I voted today. I went just straight down the line and said I'm just going to pick the person that everybody agrees with. No worries there. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please click that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. So today I'm going to go over the 5 things that I said I would never do on a motorcycle, but now I do them like a total hypocrite. This was before I started riding. When you're driving around in a car, you see motorcycles buzzing around town, and there are some things that annoy the shit out of you. The only difference is now that I'm riding a bike, I have a little bit of experience, not a whole lot, but enough that some of those things that I saw around town that annoyed the crap out of me were actually being done, sometimes for a purpose. I am trying to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you do like my content, if you could share with anybody else who might be interested in either tech or trucks, which I haven't done a lot of my truck content lately just because I've been buzzing around on this bike and there's been a lot to do with it. So a lot of my content, or most of my content recently, has been relative to this bike. But if you go back to some of my older content, you'll see I've also done a lot of truck mods, and the automotive content is not gone. It's just been replaced with some of this motorcycle content, or a lot of this motorcycle content in recent months. But I do have some stuff coming up with the truck that I'm working on, and it should be pretty interesting content as well, so stay tuned for that. Just trying to get to that 5,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year, so that going into 2019 I really can kind of hit the ground running on growing this channel. That is my goal. So without further ado, let's just get right into the 5 things that I said that I would never do, but now I do like a total hypocrite. So I'm going to count down from 5 is music. I always said that I would not listen to music. It just seemed to me like it was a distraction when you're trying to pay attention to everything around you, and that still holds true slightly. I won't listen to music in cities, or if I'm going to be at a red light, I want to be able to hear the cars coming up behind me at a stoplight. If they're going to start screeching on the brakes, I would like to hear that as clearly as I possibly can so I can make an evasive maneuver. But on the highway, I'll listen to music. I got no problem with it. So I'm not saying that listening to music is a great idea, but I do it. Number 4, which was something that I thought was incredibly douchebaggy, and under certain circumstances I still think it is, but rev bombs. The whole idea of a rev bomb to me is it's obnoxious, but I find that it is better than the alternative. My horn does not convey to somebody that I am angry, and I have had in 2 separate occasions somebody's kind of pull out in front of me and I rev bombed them. So it is a little bit douchey, but at the same time I think it is important, if somebody does something that potentially killed you, to convey a solid F you. I do and have done the rev bomb. I still consider it to be relatively douchey. Now, number 3 is one that I definitely didn't understand, but swerving. So you see a bike going down the road and you see him swerving around like so, and you think, I get it, you have a motorcycle, you look really cool, stop being a douche. But for me, there's a couple reasons for it. The most important safety aspect of it is throwing around your front headlight if you're coming up to an intersection. It's typically, I'm doing it to let somebody know that I'm there, if I have enough time to do that. Or, in my case, I'm riding back and forth to work. I'm putting on average like 40 miles a day on this bike. So I'm riding the crap out of this thing. But most of my riding is what you see here. Straight shots, 70 miles an hour. And one thing I want to do is make sure that my tires don't get totally flat spotted, which they're still going to. Riding like this all the time, you're going to develop a little bit of a flat spot in the tire. But I do try to occasionally at speed just do a little bit of a swerving maneuver. Nothing crazy where I'm going to low side the bike or anything, but it's with a purpose. So when you see bikes on the road doing that kind of stuff, they're not only being a douchebag. There's just a small chance maybe they're being a douchebag, but they might be doing it for a reason. Number 2, this is one that might get me called stupid, I'm not sure, but speeding. Now what I'm talking about is, in an environment like I'm riding right now, I absolutely hate the situation that I'm stuck in. I don't like being behind this car where there's another car in front of them and then I'm stuck with a car on the side of me, because it eliminates a lot of my escape routes. So for the most part, I am always trying to go faster than the people that are on the road with me. And that's because I like to ride through blind spots, and this is a perfect example of that. As this silver Impala creeps up, I don't want to position myself right next to this Accord and then be stuck behind this Impala, because, well, if they come over, I have nowhere to go other than in a wall. So for the most part, if I'm speeding, which I usually am, going faster than what the traffic is on the road, which they are also usually going faster than the speed limit, I like to ride through blind spots. So like this, I am not going to hang out in a blind spot at the speed limit and get hit by somebody changing lanes. So that again is, if you know, when you see a bike going down the road and they're doing 5-10 miles an hour faster than everybody else, they're not only being a dick, they are doing it because they don't want to get beamed by a car. So there is a safety aspect to speeding. Who would have thought? Now the non-safety aspect of speeding is just, it is easy to go, I mean, fast on a bike like this. I am not on a sport bike here. This is clearly a touring bike, but it has a lot of power and it is a very smooth riding bike. So it is really nothing to be riding down the road, look down and see the speedometer at 85 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour for that matter, and kind of realizing like, holy crap, I'm really hauling here. It creeps up fast. You know, not long ago I was riding close to where I am, actually right here, and just kind of humming along, and I was hovering probably around that 85 mile an hour mark, and all of a sudden I saw a trooper coming up behind me on a bike, which it's pretty clear to see him. You can see him by the color scheme of the bike and what they're wearing. You know it's a DPS trooper. And I could see him clear as day coming up in my mirror. And my thought was like, oh, shit, you know, this is it. I'm getting a ticket. And he came bombing around me. He had to be doing over 100. He was hauling. And it turned out that he was actually at an accident up here. That was a pretty serious accident, actually. So he was on to bigger and better things, more important things than me. So, and then number one, there is no excuse for, actually, you know what, let me back up. There is an excuse. I'll kind of bullshit one together here. But ultimately, weaving in and out of traffic, and I catch myself sometimes in a situation, I don't know, I'll be on the HOV lane and somebody will be doing 70 and a 65, which is way too slow. At least too slow for me, not too slow for the state speed limit. But for me, the idea of sitting behind somebody like that for a long period of time it annoys the crap out of me. So if I'm in a situation where I have somebody just kind of dogging along in the HOV lane, kind of like we are right now, well, we're doing 80, I can't say we're dogging, but if I'm stuck in a situation where there's kind of a group of cars here, but then 2 lanes over there's just nothing but 3 lanes of openness, I am not above and beyond just kind of going the long way around and cutting, you know, out front, back in front of traffic. And you'll find it's usually like 2 assholes that are doing 70 to 65, and there's just a ton of people backed up on the highway, and if you get around them, it's just like wide open highway. So I find myself in certain situations, and I'm not really excusing it as like a safe tactic, but it is something that you know, that I will do time to time. Again, I'm not claiming that's a safety thing, but there is one situation that I was actually just in where I was riding and I came onto an interchange in highways, and all of a sudden I found myself behind a dump truck, and I am not going to sit behind a dump truck. I have replaced enough windshields to know not only do they throw up rocks, but they throw up pretty good sized rocks, and I am not going to sit behind that. So in this situation, I just kind of squeezed between 2 cars, and this is one of those things that I would say, if you're in a car, I guarantee you I got cussed out. Guarantee I got cussed out. I would have cussed out a bike before I had one, not really knowing the situation. And but for me, it was just, I want to get around this truck. I'm not going to just sit parked behind him, so I'm just going to shoot the gap and get around him. So that is a safety thing. So where it might look like I was being an asshole, I was really doing it so I wasn't taking any large rocks off the face, cracking up my face shield. So You know, there's a reason behind a lot of the things you see, but I will get into another video where I will just go through 5 things that I will never do on my bike, and that will be in a video coming up later on this week. So again, thank you very much for watching. If this is your first time, please click that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel, and we will see you next time.